Hey guys, hello and welcome. I have to be a little bit more quiet in this video because my dad's working downstairs, but I really wanted to show you guys this plant here. This is the Maranta leuconeura. It's commonly referred to as the red prayer plant, and it's got to be one of the most mass cultivated indoor plants. And I got mine to bloom. I'm so happy. I'm going to be talking about that. Anyways, so it's just a super interesting plant. It's nyctinastic, which means that it moves in response to the sun and other light sources, giving it the name prayer plant. So it's native to more, I want to say, central continental climates within Brazil, but it's also native to some coastal areas, specifically around what they call the Atlantic rainforest ridge, which is kind of in Pernambuco and near Salvador, just sort of the northeast of Brazil. And yeah, it's just really interesting. It's a monocot, so it only produces one single cotyledon when it emerges, and it just has really striking venation. I mean, look at this, you guys. It's just like, wow. I got this plant on my dad's birthday, so it would have been actually the day after, so it would have been the 10th of January. We're currently February the 15th. So this plant here has doubled in size for me in a little over a month, so it's quite a fast grower for me. I know a lot of people, I'm doing my laundry. I know a lot of people have some issues with this plant, and I want to talk more about that and how you can combat them, because personally, I think once you get it right, these plants are really forgiving and they're quite nice. I also really wanted to show you guys this. So, I've been really interested in nighttime photography. I always have been. And I just snapped this shot at night, and I just thought that was just really intriguing with just the contrast. So apparently if you use a broad flash, excuse me, and photograph this plant at night, it becomes just really beautiful. It's got such stunning pigments to it. So this is in the Marantaceae family, which is a very large family. It incorporates Tenanthes, Stromanthes, Calatheas, Marantas. Anything that you can basically call a prayer plant is pretty much in that family, with the exception of a few caudaxes and a few other tropical plants. But it's just really, and a couple boreal plants too, but it's just really renowned for its prayer plant. Yeah, so this here's the red one. You can also get them in more of a chartreusey color. You can get a lemon lime Maranta. And this is the true Maranta. I know a lot of Tenanthes and Stromanthes and Calatheas are also commonly referred to and sold and marketed as Marantas, but this one here is the true Maranta. Has this really nice, I don't even know how to describe that color. It's like brownish, maroonish, purplish, reddish, brownish underneath the leaves, and that's just really appealing too. So yeah, it's in the Zingiberales order, which is a really big order of plants. It includes plantains as well as bananas. It also includes gingers, spiral gingers, many marantas, and other creeping plants. And it's just a super diverse set of plants in the monocots category. So yeah, a few things I really want to talk about this plant is it, okay, I think I'm talking a lot about like history of this plant. I really want to talk about how to take care of it now. So it propagates really well. It's very efficient with water propagation. If you're gonna just plop this in water, make sure you got a node cutting. This right over here is a node. This right over here is a node. It's just an area where the stem sort of beefs up a little bit and produces leaves and flowers, and internodes sort of jet out of them and growing points, and they create like lateral shoots and stuff. So that's just an adventitious point, usually covered by this little sheath. Sometimes not though. Usually every second one's covered by this little sheath, where you can root them very effectively. Sometimes they'll root for you within a week. I recommend plopping those in somewhat warm water. For some reason, the plant tends to absorb warm water a little bit better. Now for temperature. What am I going to say about temperature? This plant likes it a little bit warmer. I think you want to target the area that you're planting it in within around 22 degrees Celsius. It likes a lot of consistency. It doesn't like dipping below 15 degrees Celsius at all. And it'll accept warmer temperatures, but it does tend to fade out a little bit. It tends to get a little bit bleached, especially if it's in full sun. So you want to avoid scorching it in like 30 degrees. Because it is a ground cover trailing plant, it has a rhizomatous root system. So you find it in leaf litter, naturally speaking. so it doesn't like having that direct punch of the sun, you know what I mean? This will grow very fast for you if you keep up the humidity and temperature really high. I have an ambient humidity of 70%. However, with that said, that might not be enough because I noticed I got a little tiny little bit of browning and crisping on the edges of the leaves. Perfectly normal, this is just kind of how it grows, but if it becomes excessive, I recommend misting your plants in the morning. I recommend misting them with kind of softer water. If you use tap water, make sure that you try to dechlorinate it or use distilled water instead. And I'll talk about the blooms. And that's so pretty. I really hope that focuses. I'm just holding my camera with one hand, so maybe not. It's a bilabiate flower. It behaves quite like a legume. They're born in clusters of 2 and they create this really nice seed capsule. I don't know if you can see that little engorged part there. Usually they have about 10 seeds. They look like really small peppercorns and they're very viable. This here is a plant that's really easy to germinate from seed. I noticed the red ones particularly a little bit easier too. You just want to keep them warm, evenly moist, and you want to keep them a little bit covered in like a cloche or like a bag. I don't know if I'm covering my audio. Hope you guys can hear me. Anyways, just to up the humidity a little bit because that tends to just aid in germination. I think germination is typically around 75% successful, which for tropical plants grown in a temperate indoor landscape is quite high. And yeah, so if you want to get your venation and your color a little bit more pronounced, I recommend doing pretty regular liquid feed fertilizers. I use a 10-10-10 fertilizer. I recommend using one with a little bit lower of a phosphorus value just because this plant doesn't readily require a lot because the blooms are quite simple. I recommend using a well-draining soil, watering it when the first inch or so of the soil media is dry or when the pot feels a little bit light in weight. They don't like sitting in water. They like a pretty fibrous growing media. I recommend coir or like a tropical aeroid mix, or even potting mix tends to work well if it has a lot of vermiculite or some sort of a substance that keeps it well aerated and sort of enhances those capillary spaces. And yeah, so it does branch off. It creates this really nice mat of foliage. If you're going to repot this, I recommend repotting it in the fall or the spring when it's actively growing, but it's not growing as quickly as it would in the summer. You can get a little bit of transplant shock that way, and you want to just be a little bit wary of that. They make really great gifts for friends and really wonderful plant. I'm probably going to make a time lapse of this plant. It has alternate fashion of its leaves, which is really cool. But it just moves a lot, almost kind of like a radiator plant or like a, trying to think of the other one. Just like calatheas and prayer plants and stuff, just when they move in the night, you can really see them locating that sun. And you see them close up to conserve water at night too, which is really interesting. This is not a toxic plant. I don't recommend eating it. I can almost guarantee you it tastes horrible, but it's not going to be toxic for your pets. So long as they eat it in moderation, I suppose, because everything in moderation is better. For the most part, with a few exceptions, but yeah. So anyways, thank you so very much for your support, you guys. I'm definitely trying to work on improving the audio quality of my videos. I'm sorry for that overpass video on Valentine's Day. That was very, very loud. So I really hope I didn't get you guys with your earphones. But yeah, this is a bit of a longer video, so sorry about that, but I just really enjoyed this plant. So this is Maranta leuconeura, the ruby one or the red one. Highly recommend it, extremely easy to grow, high humidity, high light, high diffused light. Let it drain between waterings, give it regular feedings, and you should do well. It can trail up to like 3-4 feet. Really wonderful plant. It does well in hanging baskets too. Can't recommend it enough. On my 1 to 10 index of how hard this plant is to grow, from 1 being the easiest, 10 being the hardest, I would give this one a 3. If you can keep up the humidity, it's very forgiving. So yeah, have a good day, you guys. Stay blessed, and thank you. I'm going to come back with more, probably more edible plants and more tropical plants later on, and stay blessed.